Compassionate vegans online have convinced me that me experiencing a painful death is way better than eating a few steaks. I now understand that I should ignore my doctors, nutritionists, and medical results.
Don't you just love people who say veganism destroyed their health, yet it turns out that they only ate 3 peanuts a day? Or really just nothing at all? If you live in a modern Western society, you don't need meat to survive. Yet the majority of meat eaters will screech and go berserk like crackheads being forced into rehab.
You exploit humans all the time. Think of the fucking humans you exploited to get the clothes you're wearing. Have you thought through all the humans that are exploited to do every single aspect of your life? How dare you even say that you're somehow morally right?
No, I'm not. I wasn't talking about myself.
No, I'm talking about you. How many humans have you exploited all the time for every little bit of things for all your vegan food? Where do you think your vegan food comes from?
Vegans are often lumped in to the SJW woke crowd, but how many of these virtue-signaling intersectionalists are actually vegan? Statistically speaking, it's impossible that they are all vegan. The amount of vegans, even in the US, is very small. And because woke culture is so out of control these days, many meat eaters have become anti-vegan. Ironically, anti-vegans are now the new SJWs. For instance, they go on angry rants over the littlest things.
I could not even contain myself. Yes, this is Daphne Reloaded here, getting schooled from an actual vegan who's been vegan for 5 whole years. And trust me, after reading their comment, I have come to understand that they have done nothing but educate themselves on nutrition. They have done nothing but take college classes on nutrition. They have done nothing but study the human body, and they are very, very wise. Look at their words.
A very common theme amongst the SJWs is their need for safe spaces. The quote-unquote ethical omnivore movement, aka the anti-vegan circle jerk, simply doesn't allow vegans to join their little group. And don't even get me started on this video.
And when the highest of vegan leaders mock and chastise our personal needs in favor of physical, mental, and emotional martyrdom, it becomes very clear that our health really never was the forefront of the movement, and that as a vegan, you are offering your body and your children's bodies up as sacrifices to the vegan gods, or something much more sinister brewing in our world. While we can realize all of this, some of us still struggle to deal with a perceived immoral and cruel animal death. How can we soothe our traumatized vegan cult mindset? Well, instead of attempting to argue the impossible, let's look at it from a different perspective. What if plants were just as sentient as animals, or even more so? What if we just cannot perceive their expressions of pain or pleasure from our limited human senses? What if I told you there was a scientific body of evidence that confirmed these hypotheses? Well, I am here to tell you that there is. Enter the secret life of plants.
Yep, you heard that correctly. Plants, which have no central nervous system and therefore are non-sentient, are suddenly victims of vegan oppression. Oh my god! One more common theme amongst SJWs is that when you catch them being uninformed and therefore have very weak arguments, they will just call you Hitler.
Plenty of immoral people can be vegetarians. Hitler was a vegetarian and Hitler loved dogs. I don't use this just as an example. Hitler drank water and Hillary Clinton drinks water and therefore she's terrible. But I am pointing out Hitler, who is rightly considered one of the most evil figures in history, certainly in modern history, did have this moral stance of being a vegetarian and he loved animals.
Certain words also really offend non-vegans, even if the definition is completely accurate.
Her bio treats Holocaust as a common word that can just be defined as destruction or slaughter on a mass scale. Now, I have a problem when anyone uses the word Holocaust in this way. The Holocaust was, is, and always will be one singular event, a specific moment in history when 12 million people were slaughtered under Hitler's regime.
Veganism is a privilege that is not accessible to all.
At first, vegans were just privileged, but because of this woke culture we currently live in, it's been stretched and twisted to a whole new level.
I wanted to talk about one aspect of veganism in particular, which is labeled as white veganism, and this links up to white supremacist ideology.
If anything, it's persons of color who are more likely to go vegan. According to the Pew Research Center survey, 8% of Black Americans are strict vegans or vegetarians, compared to just 3% of the general population. Feminists used to praise veganism for the way female mammals, such as cows or chickens, are exploited in the egg and dairy industry. But because we now live in a time where everyone is just, gender confused at this point, veganism has suddenly become oppressive to the trans community. The problem is that defining what it means to be female as having a uterus, ovaries, vagina, and mammary glands completely erases trans women, trans men, non-binary folk, and anyone whose body doesn't conform to that super essentialized and incorrect definition. So, to all you anti-vegans out there, enough is enough. Stop fiddle farting around with this intersectional nonsense. Veganism isn't about you, your gender, sexuality, or race. It's about the animals. You pay and participate for needless cruelty. It's time that you just own up to that fact.